All right, track wrestling here at the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dan Gable Museum golf outing with two-time NCAA champ, world champion, and three-time Super Bowl champion Stephen Neal. Stephen, the headline guest this weekend. First of all, how did this situation come about? What did they do to get you out here?
Well, I talked to Kyle Klingman here and there, and he called and said, hey, can you come out to Iowa for this weekend? I said, let me check the family calendar. We just got back from Orlando, a volleyball tournament. There's another one next week, and I said, we got some time. The wife said, okay, the boss, and got to come on out here for a couple days and enjoy the beautiful Iowa scenery. If we turn around, you see all the green. It's just beautiful out here. So very fortunate to get to come and spend some time with the people who love wrestling out here in Iowa.
What's it been like for you out here so far?
Well, we had a great event last night. Just get to see some people who invest in the sport of wrestling. They might have wrestled a little bit when they were in high school or just have been around it, and they understand how important it is, and they want to give back. And so it's pretty cool to get to meet these kind of people.
I want to ask you about Kyle Snyder. I mean, you were a two-time NCAA champ at heavyweight. He's a two-time NCAA champ at heavyweight. Obviously, both have succeeded at the highest levels. What do you think a Stephen Neal-Kyle Snyder match would be like with both of you guys in your prime?
Man, that'd be exciting. I think you got two guys that like to shoot, so there'd probably be a lot of points. But man, he is a great wrestler. I think in my prime, he's not even at his prime yet. He's still a young guy. I got a little bit of weight on him. I'd be about 260, but it didn't seem to stop him so far this year. So it would be, I think it'd be a lot of fun, and I just enjoy how he's representing the United States of America. Really proud of Kyle Snyder. Really great wrestler.
So you're living out in California now?
I live down in Poway, so it's right outside of San Diego, where I grew up.
Are you doing anything with wrestling now? Are you any connection to any teams out there? Or?
No, I have 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy, and I want to pick them up after school every day. My son, he's 10. He might get into wrestling this year, not sure. It depends with what he wants to do, and if he does, then I'll be getting into wrestling. So.
I want to rewind because I imagine not a lot of people are familiar with your story. After you won the world title, you go off in, in 2000 or 2001?
Yes.
To make a run at professional football, and you had never played it down in college. How did that situation pop up?
Well, I was at a wrestling camp in Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, Bruce Baumgartner's heavyweight camp. And Matt Ghaffari came up to me and he said, hey, I know this agent in Cleveland. Let's ask Bruce if we can go meet him. So we checked out a camp a couple days early, met this agent in Cleveland, and this agent actually had watched wrestling before and liked it. And also he represented Coach Belichick. And so he made a phone call, said, hey, can you work this guy out as a favor? They worked me out. I talked to the coaches. They said, hey, if you come back in 2 weeks when training camp starts and pass the conditioning test, we'll let you into camp. And so I came back there in a couple weeks with all my gear and passed the conditioning test, and I got to play football. So it was pretty neat. Pretty neat and a lot of fun.
What did you think your odds were at the beginning? What were your goals at the beginning?
I just want to go out there and show what I could do. I think it's important in all aspects of life to understand your strengths and your weaknesses. And so some of my strengths were I was pretty tough. I was really fast, athletic, had a good work ethic, and I had really good quickness. My feet were good. Weakness, I didn't know how to play football. Kind of a big weakness at a training camp in the NFL. So there's opportunities. At the end of practice, we had conditioning, and normally people just all run together and survive it. So I understood this is my time to show them what I can do. And so I would sprint as hard as I could across the field and back. And people were mad at me. They thought I was trying to show them up. But it's like, no, I'm making mistakes out there. This is my time to shine. And so I allowed the coaches to see I was willing to work, and I was coachable. And so after week 3, they brought me into the office and said, Steve, we need football players. Unfortunately, you're not one of them because you don't know how to play yet, but we want to bring it back next year. And so I was so excited for the opportunity. But because of a recent conversation I had about a year before with Coach Strobel, he was coaching Lehigh, one of their big wrestling boosters was a guy by the name of Chuck Bednarik, and he was an Eagle legend, one of the last two-way players. And I had talked to him. He told the Eagles, if you see this guy out there, bring him in. So after the Patriots released me, the Eagles picked me up, and I was on practice squad for about 12 weeks. After the 12 weeks or 13 weeks, the Patriots called up and said, we want you to be on our roster for next year. So we're going to sign you to the active roster. to secure you for next year. And then that was the year they went on to win the first Super Bowl, and I got to stick with them ever since then. So I can't take credit for it. It's the man upstairs. Put me in the right place, the right time, the right situation, meeting the right people. And the one thing I can't take credit for is I was prepared. I was ready to go due to the sport of wrestling.
How so? How did wrestling prepare you for that? What edge do you think you had that others that might not have wrestled? What did you have that they didn't?
Well, I think, a lot of football players, you practice, and there might be, I don't know, maybe 20 times a day where you put your hands on someone. Because there's not just a whole lot of plays. You're hitting bags and stuff like that. In wrestling, you go out there for 2 hours, and you're feeling a guy. You're taking him down. You're changing levels. You're pummeling, getting inside control. So as offensive linemen, when you talk about changing levels, when you run block, you change levels to get your hat underneath your pads lower than their pads. So I mean that's the same thing as changing levels, but theirs get your pads under their pads. Hands inside. They always talk about that in football. You got the guy with hands inside is going to win the battle. Well, the same thing in wrestling. You get the underhook. You get inside tie. So all these different things that I've been doing for years prepared me for the opportunity when I get in there for football. And then moving your feet, when you hit a penetration step, your feet have to be connected with your upper body, and you can't just stop your legs or you're not going to get the takedown. And so when you get into a position, you got to keep your feet moving and happy, and then you can control the guy wherever you're at. And so those are some of the things offensive line-wise that really helped me out in the trenches.
How does winning a Super Bowl compare to winning a world title?
It's different. You win a world title, you're the only person up there on the podium. You have coaches, you have workout partners that all got you there, but they don't get to enjoy the rewards of that championship. And in the Super Bowl, the trainers, the front office, the coaches, the players, they all get to celebrate together. They all get the Super Bowl ring, and it's just a pretty cool thing where it's a team effort. Even though the wrestling is a team effort, you don't get to celebrate that with the entire team that puts you up there on that podium. So they're both different. Loved them both. I enjoyed being the guy that was out there on the map by yourself, but then I enjoyed being one of the guys on the team, especially one of the faceless guys as offensive line. That was an enjoyable experience too.
How have you seen the heavyweight weight class, particularly in college wrestling, evolve since then?
Well, you had a couple guys early on. They were just super dominant. Then you got to a few years where there's a lot of guys. I really enjoy watching the guys that attack. And watching Snyder, I'm just so impressed because he's not afraid to shoot in and get in not perfect position because he's not going to stay there very long. So when he shoots in there, he's not taking his time, locking his hands, getting stuck underneath. He's getting in there, low attacks, and he's getting to positions where he controls that ankle and controls the hip, and he's not getting that weight on top of him. And I just think it's brilliant, and I really enjoy watching him take it to that level. And hopefully some guys can figure out how to keep him above the knee where they can throw the hips on him and take him to another level too. So I really enjoy watching the college wrestling at the heavyweight level, and it's exciting.
When's the last time you got in a room and scrapped? Turned it loose?
Oh, man, it's been a long time. I think I went into Bakersfield's room a couple years ago possibly, but I get in there and my one hand doesn't work and try to shoot a double and, it just doesn't work like it used to. So I want people to remember how I used to be and make them think I still can, but I really can't.